On August 3rd, Representative Ann Dorney of District 86 organized an energy fair at Madison High School. There were many vendors and agencies that tabled their wares and services all day long. There were also many who offered full presentations about solar voltaics, financing, energy projects, geothermal, biomass, weatherization, training opportunities, and a soon-to-be-available natural gas. Each of them gave a brief explanation of their products. I am not promoting one vendor over another. I do suggest, however, that you speak to each and all of them so that you might make a wiser choice as to where you will go with your energy needs. I chose to feature the weatherization presentation because I felt it offered the most affordable alternative, no matter what system you choose to go with.
All right, good morning. I'm Representative Ann Dorney. I'm the state representative from District 86, which is Norridgewock, Solon, and Madison, and I've organized an energy expo today. Basically, what I realized in my district is that a lot of people are spending a lot of money on heat and electricity, and we have a big opportunity to decrease our energy use, to save money by either weatherizing homes, switching to some alternative energy sources. So today there are booths of local businesses who are dealing with energy issues, anything from geothermal to natural gas, solar photovoltaics, solar hot water. And we have lectures throughout the day on various subjects, and I hope people will come and participate.
Hello, I'm Kay Mann, and I have published a website for the state of Maine called greenenergymaine.com, and it's a clearinghouse of information about all things related to clean energy for the state of Maine. So that has to do with renewable energy sources, particularly homegrown ones from Maine, like wood pellets or geothermal or biofuels, and also energy efficiency, weatherization, ways to save energy, which really amount to being a clean energy source because we're not buying dirty energy sources when we use less energy. So I have a series of 18 blogs on the website on 18 different topic areas related to clean energy. Also all the news that comes down about developments in clean energy topic areas, and a calendar of events where you can see events listed such as the one we're at today, and people can learn more about energy, or webinars that you can listen to on your computer to learn more, and educational opportunities, job openings, RFPs, which are requests for proposals, anybody who's looking for work in this field or interested in changing their field of work to be in this area. We have a directory of all the providers of clean energy products and services in Maine, and it's searchable by county or by topic area. It's kind of like the yellow pages of clean energy. So I hope you'll check it out. Come to www.greenenergymaine.com. You can also subscribe to a newsletter that we put out monthly called The News from Maine's Energy Frontier. I'm Kay Mann, and thanks for visiting.
Hi, my name is David Lawless. I'm with InSource Renewables. We are a full-service solar contractor. We do solar thermal, solar electric, solar pool heating. We also specialize in mini-split heat pumps, and we do energy audits as well. Our number is 207-659-1054. I myself am an electrician, so I handle all the solar electric installs, and I also am learning the solar thermal trade as well.
My name is Peter Melanson. I'm from Value Energy. We sell a full line of propane products. We have boilers, fireplaces, heaters, on-demand water heaters. We can take care of all your propane needs. We also sell heating oil. If heating oil is what you use, we can help you out with that too. We're always available 24 hours a day for service. Office hours are 7 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. just give us a call and we'll do what we can for you. Save you some money, keep you warm this winter. Yeah, our number is 696-4955. 696-4955.
Hi, I'm Chad Grignan from Pine State Drill and Geothermal. We did the system here at Madison High School. It's become a very cost-effective system. We basically took this building from about in the $80,000 range of operating down to $15,000. It's been a very successful system. It has heating and cooling plus fresh air makeup. This is the commercial side of what we do, plus we do residential. We've done well over 100 houses. We have dealers out there that work with us now, and it's been a very successful installations. Everybody's very happy with geothermal. A lot of the questions out there, is it cost effective? Yes, it is. We put this system into a program and demonstrate the cost effectiveness of it. Just like a bank shows you in the amortization schedule of your mortgage, we can show you that, how geothermal pays you back. We have many systems people can see in this area that are operating with very happy customers. If you want to contact us, we have a web page, pinestatedrilling.com. We also are on Facebook. You can like us, and my contact number is 207-612-6499. Thank you. The word geothermal we kind of stole from an industry that uses deep boreholes in the ground up to a mile in the earth to pull heat. Ours is actually a geo-exchange system. We're actually geo-exchange. So what we do is we drill a borehole in the ground. We put this HDP, high-density polyethylene loop into the earth, and we fill that loop with a methanol solution or a glycol solution. And then what happens is you have a circulator that moves that fluid down into the earth. It comes up, it comes into the heat pump into a coil. In that coil is another tube, and it runs around negative 20 degrees with the gas in it. What happens, the gas is warmed up by the fluid around it. The fluid is about 45 degrees, so you refrigerate the fluid as the gas is being warmed up. The fluid goes back into the earth and gets warmed up, and then on the heat pump side, that creates entropy that's in that gas. It goes across the compressor. The compressor squeezes the gas, and it has heat molecules that collected off the earth side, and then it compresses that and releases up to 140 degrees worth of temperature, and voila, you have a heating system. And then in the summer, there's a reversing valve in the unit. It pulls the heat from the house. It's absorbed into the gas. The gas releases the heat into the fluid. It goes back down the earth, and the earth collects that, stores it kind of like a battery. You're able to recapture a lot of that energy back around November and use that as storage. So it's kind of the basic, simple way of how geothermal works. It's a very simple system, and it is virtually zero maintenance to operate. Thank you.
Hi, this is Lynn McGinnis, Manager of Commercial Marketing for Summit Natural Gas of Maine. You may have seen our pipe going in your neighborhoods and along your streets in your towns. We are investing $350 million in natural gas infrastructure in the Kennebec Valley over the next 3 to 5 years. We're happy to offer service for people in this area. We will bring the line from the main in the street to the exterior of your house at no charge with a heating conversion. It will be your responsibility to hire a conversion contractor, pick up the piping on the exterior of the house, run it to your equipment, and make the conversion. We also have rebates available, and you can call our office to find out how you can qualify for a residential heating rebate. We are excited about the opportunity to bring natural gas into the Kennebec Valley. We look forward to having you as a customer. Please feel free to call us and ask us questions. You can reach us at the office at 800-909-7642. Our direct number is 207-621-8000, or visit us on the web at www.summitnaturalgasmaine.com. Thanks so much.
Hi, my name is Scott Boubier, and I work for Maine Woods Pellet Company. We manufacture wood pellets for the alternative heating industry. They're made in Athens, Maine, and we buy from about 20 different mills, mostly sawdust and pin chips, to make these pellets. We make a hardwood pellet we add about 35% softwood to, and we make a softwood pellet. These pellets are becoming more and more popular because they're about half the price of oil, and that's a significant savings. And it also allows some of the people that are sick of lugging in wood a chance to have an easier source of wood heat. They don't have to get up in the morning to start the fire because these units usually last 24 to 48 hours, and some of the newer units are fed by an auger, which is set up like an oil system, and that's the newest thing coming down the line. Like I mentioned, most of the raw materials are purchased locally, and it's a good renewable source. We're using something that was normally thrown away and turning it into to energy. Yes, if you'd like to do an online tour of the mill, I'll give you a website. The website is www.mainwoodpellet.co.com, and on that website you can see how the basic idea of how the pellets are manufactured. You will also see our automatic bagging system and some other information. And if you'd like to know more information about where to buy wood pellets or where to locate dealers and so on, you can contact me at 431-4266.
Hi, my name's Rob. I'm with Revision Energy. We're a solar installation company. We do solar electric and solar hot water systems. We're a full installation company. We'll come out to your house, we'll do a site assessment, sit down with you, figure out your electric load and how much energy you're consuming. Based on that, we would work to determine what size system we need, and then being able to put the proposal together for you. Solar energy is something that we're using the sun to harness that energy and able to produce electricity and also heat your hot water with it. The best way to reach us is giving me a call on my cell phone. Number is 272-0736. And email is rob, R-O-B, at revisionenergy.com.
All right, my name's Dana Duran. I'm Director of Energy Programs at Kennebec Valley Community College in Fairfield. We're here at the Madison Energy Expo here today. And Kennebec Valley Community College is the region's leading trainer at the higher education level in programs related to energy. Specifically, we do electrical technology training for future electricians. We have a line worker technology program for students who have an interest in any type of line worker technology. Would be utilized for cable, telephone, data, electrical, both distribution and transmission. We also have an energy services and technology program, which is a plumbing and HVAC program, and also focuses on renewable technologies such as solar heating, solid fuel, geothermal. And then we also have a series of non-credit training in renewable technologies such as solar heating, geothermal, solid fuel, small wind, and solar photovoltaics. So we do a lot in the general area for both student training that leads to a certificate or to a 2-year associate's degree, and we also do professional training for folks who are already out in the field working and want to earn some type of a national certification or further training on specific technologies. So that's why we're here today, to provide information on our training programs. Sure, for more information about Kennebec Valley Community College, you can visit our website at www.kvcc.me.edu and just click on Energy Services, or you can give us a call at 453-5818.
All right, here we go. So everyone knows me, I think, by now. I'm Bo Jesperson, the owner of The Breathable Home. And my talk today is going to be based mainly on how are we going to figure out what's going on with the home. A lot of vendors downstairs, myself included, we have all sorts of techniques and ways of making a home more comfortable, cost less money to operate, to become healthier. So what I'm going to try to do is just navigate a little bit how my company chooses to do that, and I think is a good model for a homeowner to be able to make those decisions based on their budget, their goals, and what their house actually needs. So I wanted to start first by just describing a term that I think is becoming more important, and one I'll use in this talk, and that's home performance. You know, we're looking about how a home is actually performing, just like we would, you know, how well a vehicle drives, how it handles, or something like that. That's not a term that's widely used, and I think it should be. Because when we go into a home, as we all live in a home, or this room right now, if this room, for example, gets too hot, It's a January day, but maybe the heating system delivers heat to this room before it delivers it to some of the other rooms. This room will become uncomfortable. So that would qualify as, how is this room performing for us? It may be, in this case, too hot. Maybe, even after we get the room too hot, because of leaks and poor insulation, it cools off quickly. So now the heating system needs to turn on again right away. So again, we'd have another indication that this room isn't performing well. It heats up too fast and then cools down just as fast as it heated up. So performance can kind of take a number of different, you can define it in a number of different ways. But basically, as humans, when we live in a space, we want that space to be controlled. We want to be able to control it compared to outside. So Mother Nature kind of controls outside. She decides if it's going to rain, it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid. We want to be inside where we can control our environment so it's healthy, it feels comfortable, and that means that we really have to demarcate what's, as I tell my clients, what's yours and what's hers. So by insulating, air sealing, using a good heating system, you know, and looking at how the house is situated to the south, to the sun, to the north, all these things kind of fall into this performance as I, as an auditor, come to a house to answer those questions. You know, all these things sort of play a role. So what I'm trying to say is when I refer to home performance, we're really looking at a lot of elements in a home that all work together as one. Every part's working together. They may not be working well together, but they're all part of the same system. So what I do for a client when I come in is look at the performance where it's beginning. Before we go moving parts around or changing things, let's figure out how is it performing right now, and then decide what makes sense. Is it solar? Is it natural gas? Is it pellets? Is it insulation? A ventilation system? Then decide what kind of changes we're going to make to the structure. So that's what I mean by home performance. I'll start by the real talk by discussing an interesting idea that I got from a professor out of Waterville, Dr. John Joseph. So this is not my idea, but I think it's a way to get the conversation going on home performance and energy efficiency from just strictly a dollar and cents point of view. So first one, let's say I've got $10,000 to invest right here. And I decide, okay, I'm going to invest in something that I know is going to grow. Let's take oil, for example. So oil, we have no question, is going to increase in price. It'll be more valuable in time. So if I take that $10,000 and I invest it in an oil well, I'm pretty certain, I'm not an investment professional, but I would be pretty certain that I would at least make some money, some return on that investment. So I use oil for a specific reason, because let's say in Maine, most of us heat with oil. If I take that same 10,000, whether it's natural gas or pellets, but let's say it's oil, I heat with oil in my own home. Let's say I take that 10,000 and I invest it in home performance. I want to make my home more comfortable. I want to save money. All those wonderful things that I was talking about. So I take that 10,000 and invest in my house, and 10,000 or another 10,000 and invest it in an oil well. Both will make me money. You know, both will. This one saves me money, but this one makes me money. So in both cases, I'm ahead. With the oil well, as soon as oil goes up, let's say this winter we see $4 a gallon, my investment just grew. So I'm going to make more money with that 10,000. Same would happen if I invested in my own home. As I take that 10,000 and invest in, let's say, insulation, and I use less oil, I save money. So in both cases, I'm winning. But there's some real key elements to this that I want to explain to everyone, because it was a real eye-opener for me. When I take that money, and that 10,000, and invest in my home in this case, I'm saving money so I don't pay taxes on it like I would over here. That's my money. If I spend $1,000 last year to heat my home and next year I spend $700, that's $300 in my bank account. No, I don't have to share that with anyone if I don't want to. So I've saved money here instead of actually making money here, tax-free. A couple other really interesting benefits. I'm more comfortable in my house. I'm not any more comfortable if I invest over here. I've actually changed the environment that I live in, and I think anyway, when you're more comfortable with where you live, you're going to be happier and hopefully healthier. So that's a real good plus. The second is my home now that I've invested this $10,000 in is worth more money. Because if I'm going to sell my house to you, and I've got a beautiful old farmhouse, but I don't have an insulation in my walls, that's going to be a harder sell for you to buy, knowing you're going to spend a lot to heat it. So as I make that investment, I make those improvements. Those improvements are now worth something to somebody else, not just me. So I've increased the value of my investment. Third, I've now, if this is of an interest to you, I've reduced the actual energy consumption I need. I've reduced my carbon footprint. I certainly haven't been able to achieve that over here. I'm encouraging more carbon usage here, whereas here, I just require less. So now my carbon footprint, my tonnage, let's say I produce 10 tons a year of carbon, maybe I've reduced that by 3 tons. 3 tons all by myself. I've been able to reduce my carbon output with that sort of investment. So that's, again, not something I'm going to get an advantage of on this side. Another, I am now going to be hiring a company like ours, or I know lots of contractors that have a company just like mine. We all hire people here in Maine. I'm not special. We hire local people. So with that investment, I've now used that to help, my neighbors, my economy, them raise their families, them, send kids to school and do all those wonderful things we do when we invest in our own communities. So we get this other advantage. Most of the time, almost every piece of material I use is made right here in the United States. When I'm insulating a house, we're not buying insulation from China. We're buying insulation made right here in New England. Many of the items that we use are all based right here in the United States. And then finally, and not least, is where the goal of doing a proper home performance retrofit or working on a house is to not only make it more efficient, but to make it more durable. We don't want to do work that's going to hurt the house. The first rule is do no harm in home performance. So we want to make sure we do work that's actually going to make the home more durable, healthier. We want the occupants in there to be healthy. We don't want to save a bunch of money for somebody and then all of a sudden the indoor air quality is plummeted because I've tightened the house up like a beach ball. So we want to be mindful of these things so they're actually addressed in a home performance process that it wouldn't be otherwise. That we're looking at the health of the home in addition to all these other great things we're talking about. So we're not just saving $10,000 and working towards a return on investment on that money. We've really created this umbrella of win-win for so many elements that I thought that was really revealing to me and made me something worth sharing. Okay, with all that said, I've now discussed how exciting it is and how many changes we can make. How do you do it? I've referred to an energy audit several times. Now, if you have someone, an energy audit can be done, like I said, just really looking at the beginning layers of how a home is performing. We're just starting with the baseline. So we're in this room right now. Let's take this room as our example. Before, if I had the superintendent call me and say that this room is particularly uncomfortable, it's hard to heat, it's too cold or too hot in the summer, we're going to really try to understand what's going on right now. So we run a battery of tests to determine how that's done. This can be done visually. I mean, you don't need a lot of fancy equipment. That's not necessary. It's helpful. But, I mean, basically, we're starting with that premise is, let's solve the mystery first. Where's the heat going? Where is it coming from? What's the air exchange in the room? These are the questions we ask when we're doing an energy audit. So if we were to look at this room, we would look at the windows. Here's a layer like I talked about. Here's our room, or our space. Here's Mother Nature's space. Let's first look at the envelope, we call it, between ours, our space and hers, and determine how well that's able to control what we want in here. And we can do that with two real classic and basic tools would be a blower door. That would be a door that, let's assume that's an exterior door. I set up a large fan in a canopy that's going to suck air out of this room and allow me to measure. Every time I suck a bucket of air out, that same bucket pours right in. So I'm able to determine how many buckets are going through this room. That blower door will do all that for me. It'll calculate this for me. It's a wonderful piece of equipment. But it won't tell me where they're coming from. So I'll know, okay, this room, if I compare it to other rooms of similar size that are built to, let's say, energy, high energy standards, let's see how it compares. Oh, it's right on the money, or sure enough, it's way above. So we know this room is leakier. So the blower door is wonderful for that, but it won't tell me where these leaks are occurring. That's my job. Using an infrared camera gives me a real good indication as I see temperature differences now. I can see, wow, okay, this wall actually looks fantastic. I see a nice consistent temperature. Yet over here, right as soon as I get around the window, I see a major difference in temperature. That tells me now my envelope between my space and Mother Nature's, there's a little mix, a little miscommunication, I like to call it. So Mother Nature may have a little more control over parts of the room, while maybe I have control over this part. She controls a little bit more of it over here. So maybe that's where I'd want to put my focus on first. So, the energy audit covers a number of elements, but that's probably one of the most important. Just determining the thermal envelope. How well aligned is it? How well is it able to keep the environment that I want in here? How well is it able to maintain that environment and then maintain it for an extended amount of time? Keeping that environment for 2 hours won't be that helpful. I want that to be 6 hours, 8 hours before my heating system needs to come back on or an air conditioner needs to come back on. So that's certainly one very important element. The other elements would be, let's look at the windows. Let's look at the doors. Let's look at the basement. Your heating system. Now that we've looked at the envelope of the house, now let's try to determine how well is the heating system able to produce that heat. So we're now looking at the efficiency of a heating system or a hot water system. Those play key elements, and sometimes the costs and in return on investment for improving those can be very reasonable. So that's what an audit is really doing, is looking at the envelope of the structure, and then how are we creating that environment that we want. That would be a heating system, hot water system, an air conditioning system. Finally, in going back to the health issue, is we want to determine how well is this room, for example, breathing. How well are the air that we're all breathing in right now, it's just Mother Nature still being allowed to come in. We don't want to close it off completely to her, because that's the air we're breathing. So we want to make sure that there's enough, not too much, not too little. And so that's one other key element of an energy audit that's not typically referenced very often, is how well is the house, where's the air that we're breathing coming from, and how much is there? And that's a key element that really pushes aside energy savings. We're now looking at how healthy is this space when I'm in it. Who cares how energy efficient it is, or how big the solar panels are on it? If it's not healthy inside, it's just not worth doing any work on. That has to be fixed first. So I bring that up at the end, but that is probably one of the most important parts of an audit. Like I said, is to do no harm. We don't want to go saving someone money or making improvements if we don't know the situation and with the possibility of harming the people that we're working for. So that's not okay. So that's what we're looking for in an audit. When you're hiring an auditor, you're looking for those attributes. You're looking for someone to cover those bases for you. So then you can make a decision on moving forward. After that audit is done, so now the auditor, let's say they've spent several hours on the home. Usually they take a couple of hours. They've understood what's going on. Now they're ready to supply you with their proposal, their recommendations of what needs to happen. Now it's important for a homeowner to know, okay, I want to know what my budget is. How much can I spend on this work? What am I trying to accomplish? Am I moving in 2 years? Or am I going to leave this home for my kids to live here? What kind of longevity am I expecting to get out of these improvements? So when you're meeting with the auditor, after all these recommendations and proposals are being made, it's important to know what you want to accomplish, because it can be very easy to get overwhelmed with all the things that are wrong with the main house. We have old homes, and a lot of these old homes haven't been upgraded ever. Some of them slightly, some of them poorly, some of them very well. It could be that your home is actually in good shape and you just need sort of confirmation of that. So it's important to look at what your goals are, as well as, again, your budget and how long you expect this work to actually last. So that's a key element. Once you're able to sit down, you feel that the audit's been done and it's been done appropriately, the next key is to discuss all the options that you have. Make sure you understand them. Also very important. A lot of insulation happens, let's say I'm going to insulate this ceiling. You may never see it if you don't go up there. A lot of people don't go up into their attic space. You want to make sure that that work that's being done and recommended meets the Maine Energy Code, for example, at least meets the minimum requirements, and that the steps being taken, that you feel comfortable, are based on good building science. That someone's not kind of testing out a new theory or a new product or something. We've solved a lot of the issues that we run into, and actually the industry is simplified a great deal, because we know basic building science is just more in the discussion now of how we want to stop heat loss, we want to stop air leakage, and insulate. These are two very simple ways that can be done cost effectively and don't take a lot of fancy equipment to accomplish. This is another element that many items can be done by yourself. Many things that the auditor will find, well, let's say I find that window's in bad shape. A homeowner could change that window. A homeowner could re-weather strip around that window. Let's say I find along the baseboard, this is a classic one if you have an old basement, a lot of the cold air that the blower door will show me will suck in from the basement and come into the space. This could be handled by removing a piece of baseboard, a little piece of, one part polyurethane foam, caulking, re-weather stripping a door, for example, or even insulating an attic. A lot of these can be done by homeowners where you don't need a professional to come in and do it. So that's another element to talk about with your homeowner, with your auditor. If there are items that you want to take on, he can classify what he thinks are best for a homeowner to do and what make more sense for a professional to do. So once you feel comfortable with that, then you'll be looking at the work scope. Okay, what do I want to accomplish myself, and what do I want to hire out? And then I'd recommend you handle it just like any other contractor arrangement. References. Efficiency Maine has done a lot to get good contractors listed on their website, so you know this person has insurance, for example. You can even look to see how many jobs they've accomplished. A good contractor will offer you references. Say, look, this is what I've done for Mrs. Jones. She doesn't live too far from you. Call Mrs. Jones, and she'll explain how we or your contractor would do business. So that's what I'd recommend there. I mean, we're pretty independent in this state, so you're free to really hire whomever you wish. But Efficiency Maine website's a real good place to start. Once the work is done, and even during the course of the work, I guess there's once you feel confident you've hired somebody, there's not a lot, then hopefully you've made the right choice and there's not a lot to do. Let them do their work. If you've hired professionals to do it and they're professionals, let them complete the job, and it's really at the end you want to start to see proof that it was done appropriately. So you want to use a lot of the same tools the auditor found, maybe even hire that auditor back to say, I want this wall, Bose Company insulated this wall, let's see how well it did. So it's the same blower door and infrared. Let's use the same tools that we discovered the problem with to make sure that that problem's been fixed. So we then expect to see a different number on that blower door. If this school were to hire me to fix this room, I would expect that when I'm done, this blower door will show proof that I've air sealed if that was one of my tasks, or insulated using the infrared camera. Okay, that wall looks perfect. These windows look excellent. Oh, we missed a spot in the corner of this attic. We got to go back. We got to go back and fix it. So that would be the quality control comes from using those same pieces of equipment that were used to determine the problem to begin with. I feel with that method and having an open line of communication, that will get have a greater tendency for success. And I know of a lot of other companies that use a very similar model, and it's worked out well. We've got a lot of homes to corroborate that, and a lot of savings to corroborate that the work is performing. So I think that's a good place to start.
Question.
Sure.
Is there a time of year where it's good to make these kind of improvements, or do the energy audit? Is it good to do it like in the fall before the winter heating season starts?
Excellent question. I have been surprised this year with the hot temperatures in the summer. We've been quite so busy. Mm-hmm. So again, insulation, we realize again, if it's insulating my space to Mother Nature's, it's just as valuable in the summertime as it can be in the winter. We're a heating concentrated climate, so insulating is going to save you more in the winter than it is in the summer. We're not a high air conditioned state, for example. But when we've had a summer like this, it does start the argument or the conversation that, hey, we might as well start insulating now because then it won't be so hot. So this type of work should happen all year. You know, it really shouldn't make any difference because it's how the home performs 365 days a year that really matters. You want to be cooler in the summer without having to put in an air conditioner. That would be a goal. Why put in the air conditioner if you don't need it? And then again, in the winter, it'd be just running the heating system a lot less. So I think while it's mainly focused on the heating, because that's what we spend the most money on, most of our resources are heating homes in Maine, it's applicable to all seasons.
And how do you determine the health aspect of a room?
It's a great question, and there's still a lot of science being discussed on that. For example, a new standard for ventilation is under the microscope right now, and it's hotly contested. And the argument is, how many air changes an hour do we need? You know, do we as humans need? They know exactly how much oxygen someone needs. I mean, they figured this out. NASA and a scuba diver knows how much they need. But in a room like this, when you add a lot of people, and then we add a lot of materials, you know, these materials off-gas things at rates that we're not even familiar with. The adhesive in this floor right now, or the polish and wax that they use. All these contaminants enter into the airstream, and then we as our bodies breathe them in. And so when we discuss health, we try to just really, again, go right to the basics. We don't want too much moisture in a home. So we know basically how much moisture should be in a home throughout the year. You know, we'd want 40% or less in the winter, 50, 60% perhaps in the summer. If we see elevated levels of moisture, and then we can use just our nose, if we can smell mildew, we know that that house is not performing appropriately as far as how it handles moisture. There's too much moisture. So from a health standpoint, we look at things like moisture. We do have some basic standards of air exchange in a room like this, for example, that we know if we follow, we won't do any harm. And you could do much worse than, let's say. So while it's not science, you know, or it's not scientifically based exactly how many air exchanges we need, they've done this for a long time, and we have, you know, baselines that we would follow. So when you ask about health, we would look at those two as being the big components. How much moisture is in that home? Because moisture can deteriorate things and cause mold and mildew. And how much air exchange is there? We can determine easily if there's just not enough. So those would be probably the most important aspects of the health of a building or a home. And if it looks like there's an issue, then more serious tests can be done. For example, air sampling tests can be done if we're worried about formaldehyde, you know, levels. But from an energy auditor standpoint, that's what the key elements are, is moisture and air exchange, making sure we've got enough and not too much moisture. So for air, it's all about an air exchange system. And that's why the new code does require that even a new home built today does have a certain amount of air exchange. And that can be provided through a bath fan. You don't need a fancy ventilation system. But they're finally aware that we can't expect the leakiness of a home to do all that for us, which is how a lot of homes are done right now. And if you don't have a ventilation system, you're just expecting the leakiness of the home to do the ventilation for you. Hopefully it's right. Most of the time it isn't. But we're also very malleable, and we can deal, our bodies can deal with, we don't always need the perfect amount of ventilation and we're okay. I mean, look at, we certainly don't, we know that. But that's the real secret on high efficient homes is making sure all those elements are taken into account. And if they're not, the problems, like I said, are within a year, if not even sooner. You know, you could light us wood stove. We love Maine wood stove. We all have a wood stove. Well, if you're in a home that's too tight, and I go run my bath fan and my dryer, I just start yarding out smoke from my, my wood stove. So a lot of Mainers will just open up a window, create the draft, and everyone is okay. But in a really tight home, again, that could be that's a problem. Someone's made a mistake.
I asked Bo about the use of vapor barriers such as the polyethylene plastic that people wrapped their houses in the 1970s, and whether or not that was a good idea.
An important element there, you're right, and again, that's where, as we want to get into a more efficient space, a lot of things have to be addressed. So you can use a vapor barrier. It's not recommended for our climate. We're climate zone 6, for example. So a vapor barrier isn't recommended in our climate. However, in Alaska, it is. Because the fear is that the moisture that we're creating in here, if that gets into a cold wall cavity, condenses, and then starts the mold and mildew process. So a vapor barrier can be used, but you have to be tenacious, because then you're saying no moisture can get in there, because once it gets in, it's hard for it to ever get out. So we use more, again, forgiving materials. We use vapor retarders now to say, let's try to make sure we don't create too much moisture to begin with. That's an easy way to solve the problem. And then if the moisture gets in the cavity, let's give it a chance to get out. So we want breathable, like Gore-Tex or something. We want breathable membranes without making that cold and hard decision that no moisture gets beyond this point. So if you do use a vapor barrier, again, you have to be tenacious in every seam and joint being sealed, because you know once moisture gets on the other side, you've got troubles. So you bring up a great point on just what we were talking about, that if these things aren't taken into account, you could ruin a home. And in the course of that, you could make a lot of people unhealthy in the home. So you could really do double damage. You'd be better off building a poorly insulated old farmhouse. You know, these don't hurt anybody.
Here at the end of this program, I will show you a conversion chart given to me by Scott Boubier of Maine Woods Pellet Company from Athens, Maine. This chart will give you a pretty good idea on how to make a comparison between several of the fuels available in Maine. The heat sources are all compared to a cord of wood, which many of you Mainers are already familiar with.